Anything else, on this topic?
Nah, I'm good.
Before we get into dating, do you have any insight on the relationship between like men and women in general? Like, what's that like in Japan?
I think there's like a pretty generally recognized notion that oh, my cat is here. He was
Cats.
actually born in Japan, so
Oh,
uh Japanese kitty. Yeah, no, sorry. There's a notion that men and women just cannot be friends.
mm,
Like it's either you are just like acquaintances or you are like on the path to dating or whatever. Like there's no chill point. There's no in between.
well,
So
Okay. So you're either I know you, but we're not friends, or we are on our way to potentially getting married.
basically,
wow.
Oh.
at least from like what I've experienced.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
now I'm like interested in Japanese sexuality because, in America, I feel like we have like a lot of different categories. You have friends, you have like acquaintances, you have friends with benefits. Like you have a lot of different, mm, what's the word I'm looking for? You have a lot of different laid back, I can't find the correct word, but I'll just say laid back relationships
Mm.
that don't necessarily mean that you're going to end up married. So I'm guessing in Japan, those don't exist. There are no like flings, one night stands kind of thing, or do those things still exist there?
Oh, they are alive and thriving, my friend.
I
Um,
should have guessed.
yeah,
Of course it is.
no, I mean, like on the surface, Japan and Japanese culture is um, very conservative, and there's clear cut boundaries, or maybe not so clear cut, but there are very firm boundaries. But then, like once you've like crossed, I guess, a certain boundary, like once you get into the dating world, there's like all sorts of things that are available options to you. So having sex friends is a thing, especially if they're at least where I was, and from my experience, um, there it was pretty prevalent to have like a sex friend, I guess, or um, especially like a Japanese person with a foreign person.
Mm.
Um,
You know, that kind of like reminds me of the Caribbean a little bit. So back home is also a very conservative kind of place. So like people, especially women, I'm guessing, are like they want to not have their business in the streets because pretty much everybody knows everybody back home. I'm pretty sure in Japan that's probably not the same because a much bigger landmass. But back home, everybody knows everybody. So especially if you're a woman, you don't want everybody in your business. You don't want everybody knowing what you do. So there's a lot of like on the surface, people are like innocent,
Mm.
or even claiming that they're still have no sexual experience. But then the reality is that they probably are doing a lot of like freak nasty stuff, you know.
Also,
So that's what I'm imagining is like similar to Japan. Like people there are like they don't want people like necessarily knowing what they're doing,
mm,
but they are doing stuff.
yeah, that's a pretty good uh, intuition. Um, you definitely like don't want everybody knowing what you're doing. um, but like it's yeah, it's I like I don't know how to explain it because like everybody kind of still knows your business. Like I was in a smaller city, so like we definitely knew like who was hooking up with who, um, and for how long, and whether or not they were supposed to be. But like at the same time, everything was still kind of like underground, and you only saw certain things in certain contexts. So like at parties, you're just like, oh, that girl is definitely hooking up with that person. But like, you know, out in like the normal world, like the normal world, I don't know what that is, but you know, out in day to day life, that's not something that would ever come up or affect them, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. It's very separate.
So you mean like they would
yeah,
walk past each other in the streets, but then on different scenes they're hooking up?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
yeah. That really sounds like back home, dude.
Yeah. Well, back home, dating is actually not really a thing. Like if you want to say that you're dating, they think that you just want to have multiple partners at the same time when you actually are trying to date, as the word implies. So it's hard to say that you're dating without one hurting people, looking like a player, looking like you know negative things when you just I won't call it playing the field, but it's like you're trying to find the right match for you. But in their eyes, you have to stick with one person for as long as you can and then find somebody else after that's done. When that's not necessarily the case in like America, where you can date different people and then find the right one and then choose the right one. So I feel like it's a big difference, big contrast.
I kind of want to speak on that a little bit more because I feel like in this podcast we talked about dating and kind of defining what it is in the
Hmm.
past, and I kind of want to revisit that. Uh, I was just reading the YouTube chat. We kind of talked about it in the past, and I kind of want to like think of a different word besides dating. Like when people are actually in a relationship, oftentimes they call it, oh, we're dating. But I feel like that's past the dating phase. To me, the dating phase is like before a relationship,
Hmm.
where you're kind of like going on little dates with random people
Hmm.
to get to know them. And then after that dating phase, you pick a person, and then you're like, oh, we're in a relationship now. But people still call it dating. What do you guys think? What is dating really?
I think it's so vague, and I think that's the problem. That so many people have different definitions for it, and that's where the problem comes from. Where you say we're dating, when in actuality they mean that they're exclusively dating each other or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, I never really like thought about it that way either. Like, um, yeah, like I never like sat down and like thought about the meaning
Mhm.
of the term like talking. Like I don't know, because like there's like different levels. I feel like there's like no, we're friends, or like oh, we're talking,
Mhm.
which maybe I guess by your from what I'm hearing from your thought process, you know, like um that's probably more of your like dating stage, or
Mhm.
like that's more of a dating thing, and then like there's like
I'll
we're
say
in a
yeah.
exclusive relationship,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then you know it can go on from there. But yeah, I don't even know where that thought started, but I'm just like mind is blown right now.
Welcome to the rabbit hole.
Yes, that's literally the rabbit hole. All right, so I guess what you're saying is a synonym, blah, a synonym for what people call like going out and stuff, or we're just like going on dates is we're talking. I mean, I'm talking to several people.
Mm.
That's kind of like that stage. Okay. You see,
But
and that's so cool. That's cool. And also the problem with English is that there's so many different words that are synonymous or like you could use in place of others.
Mhm.
So then it's like, oh, we're talking. And then I could even imagine someone else taking that as oh, they're talking, that means that they're exclusive.
That's
Even
what
still.
that is a
Yeah.
meaning that it has back home.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, on St. Thomas, where I used to live, when people were talking, they were basically exclusive.
Oh,
So
that's interesting.
yeah, it's too vague,
Man,
but it's too late to change it now.
yeah. So I think what that means is if I was still in a dating scene, I would say, and this is probably some advice for the audience, is there any single younger people out there, make sure that you clarify with your person or people that you're talking to or dating around with what's going on. Like, hey, we're just going out on dates. I'm trying to get to know you. Like, be very clear, because for one thing, what happens often, in my experience, is that people aren't on the same page. One person is thinking, oh, we're exclusive, and the other person is thinking, oh, I'm just having fun right now. And that only leads to like heartache and other issues. So just
Yeah.
try and be as direct and clear as possible with everyone.
And
I actually got in trouble with that. Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry, I was gonna say
Uh-oh.
to add to that, or just gonna say to avoid a potential red flag is if you tell somebody that you're not serious and they still try to make you serious, you should probably back out or stop talking to them in that way.
Yeah.
Because
Or the other way around too. If you're stating
exactly,
that you want it to be serious and they're like consistently like no,
yeah.
maybe that's not a good fit for you as well.
So go
Facts.
ahead.
I want to hear that story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got in trouble yesterday
Uh-oh.
because I called the person that I am talking to my partner,
Okay.
and that apparently has a much stronger meaning for him than it does for me.
Uh-oh.
Huh.
So,
Damn English, man.
it's not even just English, it's like English and culture. Like, what do you
Yeah.
do?
Mhm.
Yeah.